Good morning and welcome to Smart Business Strategies. I'm Anna Wilds, your franchise economist. I am delighted to have you here today, and I can't wait for you to meet my special guest. It's Christian Trainey. Christian is someone who transitioned from the corporate world into franchise business ownership. He's going to share his story, his insights, and his experiences with us today. Christian, thank you for being here.
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on. I've been looking forward to this, so glad to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. All right. Last time we saw each other, I was congratulating you on being a new franchisee. So it's exciting to hear how you've gone from signing on the dotted line to launching your business. So, Christian, start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. So my background is in real estate management. I've had a 20-year career in asset property management. I've managed everything from multifamily, industrial, office, and most recently retail shopping center space. I've worked for small family-owned developers and large publicly traded real estate investment trusts. So 20-year career doing that. On a personal note, I'm going to be married 7 years to my wife, Paige, in April. And we have two great kids, Cortez and Selena, 6 and 4 years old. And we got an English bulldog named Benny. That's me.
All right. Well, that's fantastic. And so what got you thinking franchise?
I think overall, I've always kind of had a desire to do a little something different, to do something on my own, whether it be franchise or otherwise. I always kind of had that desire to be a business owner. So for me, it was always an option to consider, but it was one of those things where my career was always going well. And it was also the safe route, so I never really pulled the trigger on it. But in the back of my mind, that was always something that I wanted to do.
As you explained to me, it's, you always took that next step. Things were going well. You were climbing the ladder, but you always had this lingering desire, to go out and do something on your own. And it just came to a point, as you explained to me, that you couldn't ignore that voice any longer. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I think in general, like I said, it was always something I wanted to do. The stars aligned for me, and I decided to take the jump and move forward with starting and building something for myself.
So you like to start and build. And what was it specifically about franchising? You mentioned being kind of risk averse with your operations background. And so what was it in particular about a franchise that you found, appealing, attractive, or a way to mitigate your risk?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So, being my background is in operations, so I dealt with a lot of spreadsheets, budgets, financial review, try to get things efficient on property. So just by nature, I like things to be a certain way, and I try to avoid risk. And sometimes that clashes when you're looking to open a business for yourself, because it just naturally comes with a lot of risk. And so as I was considering my options for entrepreneurship, franchising was just a natural kind of calling to me. It was something that I definitely wanted to look into, because you've still got a partner in a franchisor, you've got other franchisee business owners that are there, and so I felt like a big reason for me to do this was it allows me to try and mitigate that risk a little bit.
Yeah, you had specifically shared that it was like there are templates, there are processes, there are systems, there's things already in place that you just plug and play. And that was comforting and reassuring.
It was very comforting. I think that's the excellent word for it, Anna, because the business that I decided was what I was already into in the property management space. And since we're a fiduciary, we handle people's assets, we handle people's money, and that's a big responsibility. So the software involved, the processes, and the knowledge behind it, it really helped me to get off the ground quickly and kind of really cut that learning curve down from going from employee to business owner.
Yeah, you didn't have to start from scratch, and that was great.
That's right.
And so help the audience know, how do you go from I mean, in the stroke of a pen, you go from employee, corporate employee, to entrepreneur. So what happens once the ink is dry? What happens next?
Yeah, well, a lot happens. A lot, it's tough to cover everything, but I think a lot of it was the research prior to to coming on board and deciding to do it. A lot of questions, a lot of meetings, a lot of research, a lot of networking, and just general inquiries to make sure this is what you want. And then after that, the biggest thing that comes to mind is after the ink is dry, you're looking at really number one is taking the steps to launch your business, to get up and running, sell your goods and services, whatever it is, business you decide to go. There was a training involved. So there was an education portion of it. There was some travel portion of it. And then all of that, leads up to, you opening your business.
Well, let's talk specifics. So once you signed on the dotted line and paid the franchise fee, then the onboarding process began. Is that right? And
That's right.
They helped you with everything from, go get your business license to set up your business entity and that, those things you didn't know because you never had to do it before.
Yeah. And I had a general knowledge of it. But I think the biggest thing is there's kind of a plan in place that they provide and that you can go over to say, here, these are the steps that you need to make. And, there's always things that come up that are unexpected, but generally it was extremely helpful to be able to see kind of like that roadmap to get you there, in broad strokes, if you will. So yeah, that was extremely helpful.
And then, so you're onboarded, you kind of take care of the administrative things like business license, bank accounts, things like that. Then wasn't there an online training that you went through, and then you went in person to the corporate headquarters for a week? So share a little bit about that.
Sure. So I would consider it to be kind of a three-pronged training platform. So the first was, as you mentioned, was an online version of training, which covered a lot about the business. Depending on what your business is, it'll be specific training to that. And it was online. You could take the classes at home or in your office or whatever works best for you. And then the second part was the in-person. So we visited the franchisor main offices, and that was a week-long session, which was extremely helpful. The training there was more away from the day-to-day, but something that I thought was extremely, extremely helpful was, getting your mind frame from that employee-based thinking to a business owner. So it was a lot of understanding of business development, the sales aspects, sales techniques, sales methods. It also gave me an opportunity to network and bounce ideas off the other business owners that attended. And we really made a good connection with my graduating class, if you will, that I spent a week-long session with. And then lastly, it's, the last part of the learning was, training that I would say is just the natural training that you go through as you open up your business. You start learning things that you just didn't know. And some of them are little, some of them are pretty big, but rest assured, you will learn some things as you're opening up your business.
All right, well, let's talk about that. So you had you were onboarded, you were trained, you were well trained, you changed your mindset from employee to entrepreneur. What went well for you? What met your expectations? What went smoothly?
That's a good question. I think, I would have to say, and I don't say this lightly, I think what went well for me is that I launched. I'm open. There's so many steps to get there as a business owner, to get you to actually open. And it takes a lot of dedication, takes a lot of commitment and perseverance to do that. So number one, definitely went well. All the training helped. Like I said, getting to know everyone and being able to use a resource. So without a doubt, that's exactly what went well. Is I'm operating now and have been for about 4 or 5 months now. So happy about that.
One thing that I found particularly interesting that you had told me previously is that during the training, the franchisor really worked with you to take you from where you were to where you wanted to be with your business and how to get there. You want to shed a little light on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. So I think, there were a lot of things, so it's hard to cover
Oh,
so
yeah.
quick. But in general, for me, it was, like I said, that mind frame is, you know, there are no departments in a business when you start a business. As an
You're it.
employee, it's, hey, if I have a problem, I'm going to call IT. If I have finance issue, I'm going to call accounting. If I have, I need an approval from vice president, or you are every single one of those people. You're the marketing people, you're the accountant, you're the salesperson, you're the owner operator, especially when you just get started. So for me, getting their help, getting that mind framing, looking at my development plan, my goals, the expectations, how we're going to get there, and providing that roadmap
Mhm.
was extremely, extremely helpful, because it moderates expectations, and to some degree, how things could go.
Well, even though it's you yourself and no one else, did you feel like you could call the franchisor for help, that you could reach out maybe to the other people in your training class? That Ray Kroc is the founder of McDonald's, and he's famous for saying that franchising is being in business for yourself, but not by yourself.
Yes, I would totally agree with that. In fact, I would say I still touch base with the fellow business owners, franchisees that I met during my time there. We meet regularly. Sometimes I just text them to see how they're doing.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
some of us have weekly calls just to see how we're doing, and see how we can work together. Those of us that are close. So yeah, I think that was that's a big plus. And yes, the franchisor has also weekly trainings that you can join at any time. They have a platform that's almost like a university, online university, that you can log in, look at videos, and just anything that you might think is there, you can have it access to it, and then you can always shoot an email or pick up the phone and call your contact as well. So very positive.
Okay, wonderful. All right, now let's look on the other side. What didn't meet expectations? What were some surprises that you experienced as you lost that you experienced in spite of the onboarding, the comprehensive training, the resources, the people? I mean, it was all new, so surely
Well,
something was a
yeah,
surprise.
I think really, and I wouldn't call these really a negative, other than just more of a, understanding and learning, because, I think number one is, like I said, from a finance standpoint, boy, right out of the gate, you're paying all kinds of people. So, I mean, you're not even open, and you're already paying this license and that license and this marketing person and that. You're just paying everybody. So, and just you're building, your mindset is building. You've got to come out of the gate understanding that revenue is just not going to be there. So the challenging part is understanding that it takes some time, and your mindset's got to be at, I'm going to keep going at this. Let's make this happen. So those two, I think, by far, and like I said, I don't view them as a negative. Only that it's the natural transition between being an employee for a company and taking the risk and doing it on your own.
So, what advice do you have, Christian, for anyone in the corporate world who's got that little voice in their head like you had, thinking, what's life after the corporate world going to be like? Is there life after the corporate world?
Yeah.
What do you advise them to do?
That's a good question. I would say, number one, first, if in fact this is a desire of yours, if you're sitting in the corporate profession, which is a wonderful profession, but if you're looking to do something different, if you're the person that has reached kind of that time in your life where you're like, okay, I want to do something different, I think my advice would be, look at where your skills can transition. It's not always where you think it is. Sometimes it does make a good match that, hey, what you've been doing for a while, you find a partner like a franchise that does that, and it's harmonious. But other times, it could be something completely different than what you may be used to. If you like sales, you might be, getting to that. Or if you've never done sales, it might be for you. You never know. The biggest thing is find find a concept that fills a need out there, because chances are, if it fills a need, it's going to make you money. And then I guess the last thing is for me is, this is an opportunity. Yes, it will be a risk, just like any business. But what I found most rewarding for me, or the opportunity to be rewarding, is as an employee, at the end of the day, you're building for someone else. When you go into business for yourself, regardless of the concept, you are building for yourself. You're building a business that works, a business that possibly you can leave on to your family, a business that you can exit down the road. So a lot of good opportunity, and I think if you're up for it, if you're that corporate person, I think the reward is well worth the risk.
You had told me before that what makes people in general, broad brush stroke, successful in the corporate world is building and creating things, and that, to be open-minded about considering a franchise, because you can apply that same skill set to something that you own and can create, wealth and income for yourself and your family.
That's a great point. Most people that are in the corporate world, again, regardless of your title or how long you've been there,
Mm-hmm.
but most people that are doing well are doing so for a reason. Corporate America is not easy to be successful in.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of challenges, ceilings, and obstacles to get for politics, to get in a professional's way to achieving. And if the person that have been successful in the corporate world, chances are you have those skills. You're dedicated, you're committed, you know how to get things done, you know how to run a team, you can work together with people, office politics. Chances are you have those skills, and those skills really transition very, very well to the entrepreneur side of things. The only thing you would need to adapt to is, like I said, is just going from that mind frame from employee to business owner.
Thank you for sharing that. And Christian, how helpful was it to use me as your franchise advisor? I mean, Google's out there. People can research and keep busy just with me.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it was extremely helpful, and I'll give you some reasons why. I have a unique perspective in that. Like I said, I have been thinking about these concepts for a while, and even before you and I started talking, I was already talking with other people and looking at business ideas. So once I connected with you, I saw the advantage immediately. So number one, I think having a third party as a counsel, as somebody you can talk to give you some expectations of what to expect in this franchise space was extremely valuable to me. We had, weekly meetings, we were talking all the time for a while there, and it really builds a strong relationship, and it builds a trust level that really helped me, have those conversations with franchises as I was speaking to them. Great questions to review, things to consider. So it was extremely, extremely helpful.
Well, I'm glad you found value in that. And Christian, sure. We are out of time, so thank you for being here. Audience, this is Christian Trainey, and he's got something to ask of you.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. I just want to say, if anybody's looking for services, we handle residential and commercial property for owners and investors. Please feel free to give us a call. We're at 407-743-0800. We office right here in downtown Orlando on Orange Avenue. Thank you, Anna. Thank
you, Christian. And audience, thank you for being here. And be sure to come back next Wednesday at 11:30. We're going to have a franchisor on. It's a want. I mean, not a want. It's what Christian said. Go with a need, a service. Every building in existence needs the service that this provides. You're not going to want to miss it. Make it a priority to be here. See you next Wednesday at 11:30. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. So long.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.